Hey there everybody and welcome. Today I am going to be presenting a two-part video, the first part of which is going to talk about all the changes to Mind Clash's brilliant game, Trickerion, the Dahlgaard Academy expansion. I'm sure you're probably aware, if you're familiar with this game, that the Collector's Edition and the new expansion is going to be released about the middle of this year. There was an original draft rules when the Kickstarter was going on, and now the final rules have recently been released. The first part of this video is going to cover the changes to the draft rules, some of which were pretty significant. And then in part two, I will be presenting not a full solo playthrough, but a partial solo playthrough using the new rules. I figure I'll probably do 4 or 5 rounds, something like that. We'll see how it goes. If you watched my previous video like this, which covered the draft rules and presented a full solo playthrough, which I recorded a couple months back, I guess, what you're looking at is the program that I've developed for my own personal use that allows me to play the game solo. And as you could probably tell already, I have upgraded my program so it now follows the new rules as opposed to the old rules. In this part 1 video, I'm just going to talk about the changes to the Dahlgaard's Academy expansion. We'll move into the solo playthrough when I'm finished here. First of all, if we take a look at the Dahlgaard's Academy expansion board here on the left-hand side of the screen, this board now is double-sided. 2-3 players on this side, and on the reverse side, which you're not seeing, the 4-player side of the board. The differences are really boiled down to the fact that on the 2- and 3-player side, this bottom row of classrooms and practice rooms is permanently covered with ruins. These 2 rooms are off limits for the entire game. The top 2 rows are covered temporarily with ruins cards, and they get revealed somewhere over the course of rounds 4, 5, and 6, depending upon the player count. The total secret count that's going to be released with the expansion is going to be 20. There will be 20 different secrets. If you remember from my last video, if you watched that, I kind of scrapped together what I could find on the internet, and some of the images were pretty cruddy. But now these are all freshly scanned images of all the secret tiles. I can actually pull up a list of all 20, and there you go. I'm not going to cover each one in detail. You can find that out yourself, but if you watch my partial solo playthrough, you'll obviously see a number of these get revealed. Okay, so those are the 20 new secrets. It wasn't clear, I think, from the draft rules how many classrooms and practice rooms were going to ship with the game. There are going to be 16 of each. So there are going to be 4 Fame Threshold 1 classrooms and practice rooms, 4 each. There will be 6 at the Fame Threshold 16 level, and there will be another 6 at the Fame Threshold 36 level. Originally, there were 4 different effects that would show up on the classrooms and 4 other effects that would show up on the practice rooms. Well, now that those powers have expanded to something on the order of, I think, 25 different effects that cover both classrooms and practice rooms. And the powers I'm referring to are the slots, of course, where you place your academy markers, so that when you're teaching a trick, you'll get some different form of income. You might get the standard income. You might get some increased fame, like 1 extra fame or 1 extra shard or 1 or 3 extra coins. And then the practice room powers, such as getting a better yield on your trick, being able to rotate your trick marker freely without having to follow the rules when you're placing it on a performance card, and being able to meet the requirements of a trick when you're short 1 or 2 of the components. There were 4 different actions you could perform in Dahlgaard's Academy. You could learn a secret, you could renovate a classroom practice room, you could teach a trick, or you could practice a trick. And each one of those actions cost 2 action points, no longer. Now the renovate action still costs 2 action points. Learning a secret still costs 2 action points. But now when you teach a trick or you practice a trick, the number of action points is going to work similar to the way it works when you prepare a trick in your workshop. You'll pay 1 action point if you're teaching or practicing a lower level trick. If you're teaching or practicing a 16 threshold trick, you're going to be paying 2 action points. If you're teaching or practicing a 36 level trick, you're going to be spending 3 action points. There's also one new action that's been added called Discover a New Secret. So if your opponent on an earlier turn during the round had drawn one of these secrets, you could perform the Discover a New Secret action by spending 1 action point and drawing a new secret from the deck. Now there are 5 different actions instead of 4 with the expansion. Once again, in summary, Renovate for 2, Teach and Practice for 1, 2, or 3 action points, the Learn a New Secret, which still costs 2 action points, and Discover a New Secret, which costs 1 action point. On the classroom specifically, remember there was always this classroom bonus in the middle, and that was earned in the draft rules when you taught a trick using one of the effects, and then an opponent taught the other half, the other effect on the same classroom. You would each receive the classroom bonus. That is not the way it works any longer. Now, when you teach a trick, if the level of the trick that you're teaching matches the level of the classroom that you're teaching it in, then you score the classroom bonus. It's no longer a 2-player bonus, it's now a single-player bonus. And both players can earn it. If I teach one of my 16 threshold tricks and place my academy marker in this effect here at the top, one of my opponents could also teach one of their 16 threshold tricks down here. Each of us would receive this bonus when we actually taught the trick. When you teach a trick, the rule still stands that the academy marker is going to be there permanently. It can never move unless you actually completely discard the trick from your player board and return it to Dahlgaard's residence. In the case of a practice room, the rules still stand that if you practice a trick, say using this effect, then I could decide on a future turn to practice the same trick using this effect instead. So you can move your academy markers when you're practicing a trick from one effect to another. And in fact, you can move it from a practice room to a classroom where it will then remain permanently for that trick. With the Academy expansion, there are still 5 trick markers now instead of 4 that were allotted to you in the base game. You'll have access to 5 different trick markers in addition to the Academy marker. Down here at the Dark Alley, you may notice that now there are 5 stacks of Dark Alley cards, not just 4 stacks. We now have a full set of Academy Dark Alley cards, special assignment cards. The expansion is going to ship with 14 Academy special assignment cards. Currently, there are 12 each of these 4 sets. The expansion is going to ship with 2 additional cards so that each of the 5 different types, be it Downtown, Market Row, Workshop, Theater, or Academy, will each have 14 cards in the deck. So there are 7 new prophecies. Originally 27 for the base game, and now there are 7 new prophecies that are all blue. Here's an example of one of them. The way these 7 new prophecies work, here's the entire list of, I guess, what is that, 27 plus 7, 34 different prophecies, 7 of which are going to be blue. When you're playing with the Dahlgaard's Academy expansion, you remove 7 of the 27 basic prophecies at random, and then you replace them with the 7 blue prophecies that have to do with the Dahlgaard's Academy expansion. So you're playing with a nice mix of base level as well as expansion prophecies, but you're still playing with a set of 27 different prophecies. Now, if you happen to be playing a solo game, 4 of those prophecies, 3 of which are basic, 1 of which have to do with the expansion, 4 of those are not used when you're playing solo. You're actually starting with a base set of 27 minus 3, or 24 different prophecies. you replace 6 of those core prophecies with the 6 expansion prophecies that are used in a solo game. So you're playing with a set of 24 prophecies. And of course, you're only going to see so many of those over the course of a game. All the magicians have new art. Let's see what we got here. So this is Lumenia the Radiant. Let's pull up the entire list. Anjali. This is one of the 4 new magicians, one for each of the different schools of magic that are part of the expansion. And then these are mixed up in this list with the originals. But you can see Electra's art is all new. Here's another one that comes with the expansion, Geert Van Augustin. There's Lumenia, Master of Chains, all new, of course. And we go down the list, all new art. Of course, we've got 4 magician abilities that apply to the 4 new characters. They are Anjali, Geert, Lumenia, and Professor Bernard. Those are the 4 new magicians. A couple of the core magician abilities have been changed. One side is used when you're playing a normal multiplayer game. The other side is used for the air when you're playing a solo game. So now when you're playing against a solo opponent, the solo player, the air, has its own special ability for its magician. You'll see an example of that when I go through my solo playthrough. The solo rules for the game, they were rather complicated. The rules have now been totally streamlined, especially the rules having to do with when the air or the AI player is setting up tricks and choosing a performance card during the performance phase. All those rules now are cleaned up and really streamlined, much easier to understand and follow. But for the most part, the rules for the solo play haven't changed dramatically. I have pretty much covered all of the changes. I'm going to leave it at that. I will now end this video, and if you want to watch my partial solo playthrough using the new solo rules, the new Academy rules, tune in to part 2 of this video. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.